Today, I'll try to give you some tips on how to buy a watch for between $1,500 to $4,500. This is the hardest segment to choose from because you can get the best in the high-end luxury category and you can't be too picky in the entry-level luxury category. In this middle-range luxury category, you need to know exactly what your money can get you. Also, there are many options, which makes it harder to choose. Here are 10 things I think you should watch out for. 1. A good Swiss or Japanese movement. It is very important to get a watch with good movement. You can even get a mechanical movement from a well-known brand like Tag Heuer, Longines, or Breitling if you buy a piece that costs close to 3 lakhs. A good quartz movement from ETA, Ronda, Seiko, or Citizen in Japan could also be a good choice. The powerful Swatch Group owns ETA, which makes movements for many well-known brands both inside and outside of the group. Citizen Miyota movements are also very popular with brands that are not part of the group. 2. Chronometer certification. When you buy a watch, you don't know how well it works. Most likely, you bought the watch because you saw a good ad for it. Here is where certification comes in. For chronometer certification, a watch movement is sent to the U.S.C and tested over time. U.S.C stands for Contrôle officiel suisse des chronomètres, which is the official Swiss chronometer testing institute that makes sure Swiss watches are accurate and precise. Even among watches made in Switzerland, only a small number are U.S.C certified. The tests are done with a fully functional movement in different positions that mimic the wearer's normal hand movements. For a watch to be certified as a chronometer, it must be accurate within -4 to +6 seconds per day on average between all positions. It just means that a movement can't lose or gain more than 4 or 6 seconds per day. For a watch to be certified as a chronometer, it must be accurate within -4 to +6 seconds per day on average between all positions. 3. The name of a brand. Even more than the item itself, the brand name is the most important thing to look for when buying a collectible. These watches are meant to last a long time, and only brands that have been trusted for hundreds of years are usually taken into account. There are a few new brands that have made it onto this list, but they are few and far between. Franck Muller and Hublot are exceptions, but you won't be able to get them for this price. Also, the value is even higher if the brand has been around for a long time, has its movements, and makes most of its small parts in-house. When you want to sell your watch again, you'll see how important the brand is. Only a few brands are like money in that they can be sold as used items at any time and get a good return on investment. Rolex is the best brand for reselling quickly. 4. Unique design. Choose something that is not unique for the brand, but also the watch industry as a whole. A reversible watch like the Reverso from Jaeger-LeCoultre or a Cartier tank with its famous railroad design has stood the test of time for almost a century. These designs can be seen from a long way away and never get old. Some designs become so well known that brands like Rolex, Movado, and Omega are known for them. There are many more like this. The Omega Speedmaster is easy to spot from a mile away, and its design will never get old. 5. The amount of light and how well it doesn't get wet. If you want to check the time when it's dark, the quality of the light is very important. Most expensive watches have some kind of glow, but not all of them work well. The light is less accurate. The worse the quality of the material. Some can only light up the hour markers and hands when they are near a light source. But why do you need legibility when you are close to a light source? You only need to see the time clearly when it is dark. So, choose a tested and registered luminant with good quality, such as Super Lumi Nova, which is used in many good models by most of the big watch brands. In the same way, water resistance is a very important thing to look for, especially in sporty watches. The standard is 30 meters, but good diving watches can go as deep as 100, 300, or even 600 meters. Even if you're not going to dive into the deep sea with your watch on, a good sports watch must be resistant to water. 6. Crystal sapphire. The watch crystal, which is the clear cover that protects the watch face, is the part that is most likely to get hit or scratched. So, you should be very careful to pick a watch with a good crystal that can take a few bumps and is almost impossible to scratch. So, sapphire crystals are now a must-have for any good watch in this price range. The other kind of crystals, made of mineral glass, cost less and are easy to break. 7. Coating to stop reflection. In the same way that you need a good light source to see in the dark, you need a good anti-reflective coating to see the time clearly in bright sunlight. A good coating that stops reflections on the sapphire crystal can make it much easier to read. This step may not be done in cheaper watches to save money. For best results, the coating should be on both sides of the crystal, but it should be on the inside at least. Coating the crystals is hard because the coating sometimes comes off when it gets scratched. 8. Buildings made of solid metal. Even if two steel watches look the same and are made the same way, they don't always weigh the same. This is because watchmakers try to save money by putting together cases and bracelets made of cheaper materials. Steel watches should be made of grade 316L steel. Most of the time, watchmakers use cheap materials or leave the inside of the case or bracelet empty. Checking the sides and weighing the watch itself could be a good idea, especially for watches with bracelets. 9. Belt buckle enclosures. Another important thing that buyers often forget about is the quality of the clasps. It's very important because you don't want to accidentally open your watch by hitting the bracelet or jerking your wrist. Single locking clasps are still used on cheaper metal bracelet watches. This kind of bracelet clicks or snaps into place. The best metal bracelets have clasps that lock twice or 3 times. For a double locking clasp, the piece first locks when it connects to the bottom segment by clicking down. The second part is the small metal flap that locks over the first piece to keep it shut. There are sometimes double locking clasps with a push button instead of a fold-over clasp that can be used for a triple lock. Also, in terms of looks, a brand logo on the buckle or clasp makes the person who wears it proud to have a good watch that has a personal touch. The crown logo is the same on your clasp as it is on the dial or the crown. 10. Fix the dial and case. Lastly, the customer buys a watch because it looks good. And the dial and the work on the dial are responsible for a lot of its good looks. Watchmakers go to a lot of trouble to decorate the dials with works made by hand and by machine. Mother of pearl is one of the most well-known materials for dials, and making mop dials is great art. They are easy to break while working, so the watchmaker's skill is very important. There are also patterns like Guilloche and Klaus de Paris, which have their fans. Many of these patterns used to be made by hand, but now easier ways like stamping are used instead. In the same way, customers who know what they want, enameling, marquetry, special work on wood that is hard to find at this price, and engraving methods, many of which are still done by hand. Special polishing techniques can also improve the look of the case and bracelet. Brands often switch between a polished and brushed look for their case or bracelet. This gives the product a two-tone look that makes it look better. To sum up, the 10 points above cover a wide range of topics, from how it looks to how it works to its history and technology. I guess you can't get everything, so please put your wants in order of importance and do what your heart tells you. In the end, you have to live with the choice you make.